So a lot weighing on the UK's economy since June's Brexit vote. To discuss the implications, let's bring in Rob Allard, CEO of Firebreak Capital. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, Rochelle. Nice to meet you again.
So how surprised are you to see this level of consumer confidence given the uncertainty surrounding Brexit?
Look, I think that the consumer confidence that we're seeing is a little bit a function of the campaign that the Remainers had laid forth prior to the vote. And, it was a doom-laden prediction of a kind of apoplectic outcome in the UK economy. And consumer confidence obviously suffered as a result in the run-up and immediately after the vote. What we've seen is that those doom-laden predictions haven't really come to fruition as yet, at least. And I think that's given UK consumers confidence to continue spending and continue to have confidence in the future. So that's created an interesting dynamic, given that the medium and longer term effects of the economy, as described in your earlier piece, there is obviously some uncertainty around that.
So looking ahead then, in what ways do you expect these Brexit negotiations to trickle down to UK consumers?
Look, I think that obviously the uncertainty around it, certainly the market reacts to that, and that creates a lot of hell of headlines. I think until consumers really see it affecting them day to day, I think the confidence will remain. And if you look at the kind of UK consumer balance sheet, whilst debt to income and debt to household ratios have increased over the course of this year, they're still a way off the 2008 numbers. And so overall, savings rate has maintained relatively consistent. So I think that the UK consumer is certainly in better shape than they were the last time around, and the financial system in general, in terms of the provisions around income multiples and mortgage lending and what have you, have created a slightly more robust economy for the UK. And I think the one thing which has created great momentum and is giving continued consumer confidence is the UK economy has been performing exceptionally well in the run-up to Brexit and continues to do so, and is an outperforming economy, and that people are feeling the money in their pockets for the first time in several years. Disposable income is at its highest level since pre-crisis.
Now, Rob, as you mentioned some of this momentum, we're seeing that the UK may finish 2016 as the fastest growing G7 economy by some estimates. What are the chances of that continuing into 2017?
Look, I think the increase we saw in consumer spending, the UK service index was up again to a record high. Most recently, you're seeing some of the positive benefits around kind of the Brexit and the confidence that's maintained in the economy, consumer spending. Whilst the headline around a low pound can be alarming, it is actually very positive for the manufacturing sector. Right. The UK tourism sector has had its best year for a decade. And, overseas spending in the UK from tourists is up 8% this year. So there are positive aspects to it as well. And overall, I think the momentum and the direction of the UK economy is positive. Now, the headwinds, which we'll start to see over the medium term around investing, business investing, long-term investing by overseas companies, etc. Right. I think that will start to bring some headwinds into the UK economy next year. But I think that the consensus view is that all else kind of coming out, that GDP should still be kind of a modest kind of 1 to 1.5% kind of range, and right. Inflation, whilst a bigger concern, is still only likely to rise to the Bank of England's target rate at 2%. So it's not something to be alarmed over at this stage.
Now, Rob, just quickly, immigration was a pivotal issue for many Brexit voters, and some reports say that a lot of this Brexit-related migration, if it's cut back, could really damage the UK economy in the long term. Just quickly, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I think the Brexit vote was very much a vote not to reject immigration more broadly, but to basically wrest back sovereign control over immigration. So it was the sense that the UK was no longer in control over its own borders, and that alarmed people. The UK historically has always been open to immigration. That's been an important dynamic for the UK economy over the last 100 years, and I think that will be maintained. I think the UK government has taken a very sensible position, wanting to maintain the ability of UK citizens living overseas in the EU and linking that to EU citizens within the UK. And I think that they're the government is very aware of the benefit of immigration and is trying to remove that uncertainty as early as possible. The EU negotiation position, where they aren't willing to discuss anything until Article 50 has created a degree of uncertainty and anxiety, which is not unsurprising. But I think that both the EU and the UK government recognise the importance of addressing this issue. I think it gives the opportunity for the UK to have a more sensible, kind of controlled and thoughtful approach to immigration. Doesn't mean the end of immigration in the UK.
Indeed, something to watch. Indeed. Thank you very much, Rob Allard, CEO of Firebreak Capital.